have a dog for you. She's pretty cute. We're just gonna let her do whatever she wants. Okay, I'm gonna get started in about 1 minute, and we're gonna keep it kind of short because I don't really have a lot of time to dedicate to this. But I do think that it's important to talk about it. What? You want to stay here? Oh. You can come here. Come sit. Come sit with me. There you go. Good puppy. You're such a good puppy. Okay. So since the beginning of time at Mindful Mutts, we have been beyond grateful. By we, I don't really mean just me. I mean like everybody has been beyond grateful for the type of clientele that we have. We don't necessarily, come on Bella, come here puppy. We really appreciate the fact that we were able to make such a difference in our community so early on into our time in the dog world. To say that we didn't make mistakes would be ridiculous because we absolutely did. That's how we grew and that's how we learned. But I think one thing that I have learned from the very get-go is that I cannot understand the theory of the customer is always right. And while we want everyone to be happy, we can't bend to every individual demand that's made. We are in fact a business still. We're also not a corporation, we're not a large business. We have a handful of staff, and that handful of staff works harder than you probably think. In fact, most of your, there's some pretty good dog daycares out there these days. And I promise you that they're not just sitting around snuggling your dogs. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes. And the work is extremely emotional, it's extremely physical, it's extremely hard. And above all, I think really just over the last 15, 16 months, it's kind of like we just kind of realized that it stopped being fun. It stopped being about education and engaging with clientele and looking after dogs. It started to be really just about survival as a business. And so many businesses I know have obviously gone through that, much worse probably than we've even gone through it. I'm certain of it. But because we put on a happy face and we try to get through it so that we can look after your dogs and be a comforting place for your dogs and for you, knowing that your dogs are somewhere safe. I think that people often think that we just don't, like, nothing ever phases us. There's nothing ever going on here that needs to be of concern. And so I don't really necessarily care about bad reviews. I don't care about things like that, believe it or not. I actually just really do care about the fact that this is my livelihood. This is what I do for a living. And the way that some people have, particularly in the last 15 months, but not just, it just got extremely advanced over the last 15 months. The way that we have been approached and spoken to and treated has been beyond explanation, really. I don't even know really where to start to go into it. So where Cody comes in is that he got a new puppy and he came in to do puppy parties. And aside from setting up puppy parties, we really hadn't had any interactions whatsoever. It was a particularly interesting puppy party day. It was generally it's a drop off your puppy and you gotta go kind of situation because of COVID. We make that pretty clear from the get-go. It's been like that since the day we started them. He came in and the puppy was immediately terrified right off the bat. And so we didn't let them to come in bring their dog in just right into the group. We actually made them like, wait a second, and then we brought them in, and then we actually sent them home early and removed him from the group early. The reason that we did that was because the dog was so petrified, and while I was trying to get the puppy to find a safe place and try to manage several dogs that were, 3 other dogs that were like really shy, so we had everybody's people in there because it didn't feel right to ask them to leave them alone. Because we had brought them in, it was like I just had 1,000 things on the go, but this dog was my priority because he was so nervous. So what we did was we kept trying to give him a safe space, and the owners actually kept pushing him towards the other dogs, and so that's when eventually I was like, you know what, he's actually just not enjoying this. It's actually really hard to kind of try and sometimes make a dog just enjoy something, so we needed to rethink this. So the discussion was, well, why don't you guys just step out and we'll rediscuss this and come up with a new plan for next week. And everything seemed totally fine. It was like we conversed, everything was fine. They thanked us, we thanked them. We said we'll do like a nice little individualized, we'll make a special plan for next weekend for your dog to make sure that, like, now that we know that there's something a little different, we'll do some things a little bit different for next time. We don't meet the dogs up front. Out of absolutely nowhere, a couple days later, we get this scathing review, not having credentials. We literally have credentials listed in 2 different places on our website, not just of mine, but of our entire staff. So any course that they do, anything, it needs to be updated a little bit more often, but we've been pretty busy with all this stuff lately, so we just haven't been able to. But we list everything on there. There is never a time that we're not talking about our credentials. We're known for being overly chatty about it. So that was part of the reason that it kind of just irritated me. And then to keep reading and see some of the things that were coming out that I was like, what? When did any of this happen? It was just because they were mad. They were mad that we blocked their Instagram account for trying to make excuses for animal abuse on a thread that had nothing to do with that particular type of conversation. And so it just didn't feel right. And we did some investigating, and once we kind of addressed the situation, some community members recognized his handle and the way that he types and started sending me all sorts of screenshots of some pretty aggressive behavior online. That was enough for me to realize that I wasn't obviously dealing with somebody who was just easy to deal with. Considering that we were attacked and blindsided out of nowhere, we thought we were seeing this puppy again the next week, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, everything we've done is wrong, but none of the things that are listed there are even relevant. So like, if it was like a review that made some sense, that's fine. But the fact that he went as far as he did, I just feel like as small businesses, we need to start taking things like our reviews back. I don't expect to have 5-star reviews for everything. In fact, I don't expect everyone to give us a review at all. But I think that in particular in this climate, the way that you want to behave online, I think you have to be prepared for repercussions nowadays. I prepared myself for what was probably going to happen to me personally if I did stand up to this dude. So I was ready for that. I'm like kind of okay with however it's going right now, because I tried to do it the polite way, but doing the polite way often just doesn't work. And this was a really good example of that. So we sure did find out where he worked. I actually didn't, somebody else randomly did. So I called them. I was on the phone with their receptionist, bawling my eyes out for like 10 minutes because me and my staff were all upset. You wouldn't believe the reason that people post reviews like that are either for attention or because they really, really just don't like you for some reason. And we couldn't find a reason that we gave this guy to just not like us. And so it just, something about it all just felt really, really off. And I have to say, it was the best thing that I ever did was contact where he works so that I could have somebody held responsible, because the whole entire thing just became such a big deal. He was harassing people who were standing up for us online. and literally arguing on their own Instagram pages. And when he got frustrated with the way that was going, threatened on their own Instagram pages to call the cops on them for harassing them. I believe one of them didn't even live in the province. So instead, this guy thought that it was appropriate to waste New Westminster Police Department time and call the cops on mindful mutts. And when I got the call, I was at a client's house literally thinking, what is this even about? And I actually told the cop that this was a waste of their time and to call back another day or somebody else because it wasn't to do with me. But the fact that he was going that far, he was really defensive, he's very, very angry, and I just can't tolerate that kind of thing. We've had enough of that type of behavior around here. So if you're prepared to put information on the internet that isn't nice, I think that expecting everybody to be on your side or just, I don't know what the word is, to expect everyone to kiss your feet because you have a loud opinion that is very nasty, I think that it's time to start making sure that people are held accountable, because unfortunately we don't have Google reviews for people, just people. And nobody wanted to get Cody fired, but we did want him held accountable because somebody is being represented by him. And I think that it's just time for things like that to be taken more seriously. You wouldn't believe the amount of messages that we got and reviews that came in from men telling us to leave politics and feminism out of business and that we should just take reviews. And I'll take a review, dude. I'll take a review. It's fine. But you know what? My livelihood and no small business's livelihood should be dependent on having to please every single person individually on demand. And we're human beings. And so if this human being had only contacted us and said, hey, you know, I have some concerns. There are some things that I didn't really like about this. Is any of it going to be able to change? He probably would have gotten to see how incredibly grateful we would have been for that. So that we could do better and know better and try to improve something at a time when we were bleeding tens of thousands of dollars every single day. It was just like we didn't have anything to do anything with. And so if he was really that upset about the aesthetics, I guess he could have communicated that to us and we probably could have had a really nice conversation about it. And then he just didn't have to come back ever. But to go as far as become so angry to make a bunch of shit up just because he was like fueled by whatever rage he was feeling at the time just seemed a little bit much. So we're not really able to tolerate that around here. And so I've been posting every time I get a nasty message or a nasty review, I've been posting it on an Instagram and tagging the company he works for, so that they can see that my complaint, which I put in about 3 months ago, was really valid. I had concerns about his behavior towards us, his concerns about behavior towards other community members who had stated with evidence some of the behavior that has harmed them and hurt them in their own ways. And I just think that it was time for people to realize that when you are arguing on the internet or putting your opinions out there, it's not always going to be inconsequential. Sometimes somebody has to be held responsible for those. So that's kind of what happened. The first time that I spoke with the company that he works for, they were really, really like super nice on the phone. They assured me we take this stuff really seriously. When I followed up via email a week later, the HR department, again, after telling me we take these matters very seriously, replied back that we'll be dealing with it internally. The review was still up on our site, and then all of a sudden I see on their Instagram feed, just out of nowhere it shows up, a nice big spotlight on him about how wonderful he is. And I probably wouldn't have cared if it was clear that something was done, that something was talked to, that he was spoken to about something. I just don't think that it was fair or necessary to take so little interest in our concerns. If somebody that I knew, somebody that worked here, was putting information out about how if anybody that worked here was conversing with people on their small business pages the way that this guy was, or harassing women on their own Instagram page, or posting information, posting opinions based on how BLM is just a trendy movement that caught on here because of what happened in the States, or about how homeless people should be, I forgot the word that he used, but it wasn't nice, they should be removed, about how people who don't have jobs or refuse to work for minimum wage are just lazy people, just nasty stuff, and we just kind of had enough of that kind of stuff. Like last year we had another guy literally drop off his dog, and because we didn't have paperwork that we needed for it, and he was told, sorry, we need the paperwork before your dog's able to be here, literally grabbed his dog's leash, threw his hands in the air and was like, I don't need this shit, I'm a fucking foreman, and drove off into the morning sun like as if we were nothing. And it's not only ever men, but the vast majority of the time it is. And then we're told about how we're supposed to keep this to ourselves, and we're only supposed to talk about dogs and whatever. And I gotta tell you, our business has never been about that. It has never. And if for some reason being a dog daycare or working with dogs is supposed to mean we have no spine, I guess you've come to the wrong place. We will be standing up for ourselves. We will be encouraging our colleagues and our friends and our neighbors to be standing up for themselves. It's the last thing that any of these businesses need, because I don't think that what people realize is just how much trouble and stress and debt we've all gone into, and loss that we've all gotten into in order to still be here, if we are lucky enough to have still been here and have our health in addition to just having our businesses. And so I just think that it's really just something that I'm over. We can't tolerate it anymore. As a team, we've talked about this a lot, and our team is really, as often as I can, kind of sheltered from this stuff. This is why a lot of everything is done behind the scenes, so that we can deal with it, because no matter what we do, I don't ever think that the amount of stress that comes from these type of interactions is worth putting on them. But they still get their fair share of stuff like that. It's not usually as extreme because I'm able to buffer it. But I think that it's pretty universal, and they do have all permission to make sure that they stand up for themselves as well. I've always listened to them and made sure that I take their opinion seriously when somebody treats them poorly, because I mean, honestly, this is what I said earlier, is we're not Walmart, and quite frankly, if you treat people like that at Walmart, there's probably bigger problems than we even realize, because nobody deserves it. Nobody. Small businesses work super hard. We often forget to make boundaries, or we try to make boundaries, but we let them slide. We let them be ignored. We let them be just barreled over, because what we do for a living, in our case, is very emotional and very connected to the people that are connected to the dogs. So it just can be a really fine balance that you have to make, and sometimes it's hard to find, and when you do find it, it's still easy for that to crush sometimes. And I think that that's the same with most industries. Anybody who is a small business who's just trying to make it to do what they love for a living, make a difference. I think that we have to really acknowledge that, and the way that we interact with each other in that sense. So I have no desire to back down from people who are going to try and make my life miserable because they didn't like our flooring. If you don't like our flooring, you can feel free to email us. We'll have a little chat. And then maybe from there, you can go find another facility or another professional to work with. Do you know how many restaurants that I've eaten at that I wasn't happy about? how many retail stores I've gone to that didn't have products that would suit my preference, how many times maybe you've gone to the gym and couldn't get the use of the equipment that you wanted. I don't know, I can think of like 1,000 different examples, but none of these examples warrant a shitty 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star review. Support the businesses that you love. Vote with your dollars. Don't support the ones you don't. If we're not the ones you want to support, you don't have to. We're 1 in a million. There's like tons of dog daycares and dog trainers around. I'm not really sure why we're held to such a standard that we need to be able to bend to everybody's particular preferences all the time. So in any case, we're really, really glad and very, very happy to say that the vast majority, absolutely, of our regular clientele is literally just like, they've become our friends. We are very close to them and we appreciate them so much. It's not even a few bad apples anymore. Like during the pandemic, it's been way worse than a few bad apples. And I think that that's made it really, really hard for a lot of us to want to come to work. The pandemic has made everybody's mental health, I think in general, just not as healthy as it maybe once was. And I think it's really important that we remember that. You know, I've ordered things from small businesses, and rather than taking a month to get to me, they took 3 or 4 months to get to me. Sometimes it's the wrong order, and sometimes it's an entirely wrong situation. And I can't think of a reason not to just be patient and understanding about it. There's really no reason that I can think of. So, a long story short, it always becomes a feminist issue. And one dude wrote to us to say that I sound unhinged. And I'd like to thank that dude as well as all the other dudes who commented to tell us how, as a woman, we should run our business and how we should speak, because it's really helped me formulate a really cool, super fun new project that we discussed and decided on today that we're going to be working on getting started over the next few days. And we think that you guys are going to really like it. I think we're going to have some fun with it. So as your local unhinged feminist dog lover, I thank you all for your support. I know it's not simple as responding to people online and getting into internet arguments. That's actually the last thing that I want anybody that I know to get into. That sucks. And these people are dangerous. When people are this angry and pent up, it's usually just a ball of anger. And I know that there are consequences that come with that. So don't engage with anybody. Keep it to yourself. I see the comments as they come in. It's all good. Eventually it'll go away. It is what it is. But I gotta tell you, they gave us some pretty good ammunition and some pretty good examples of why things come down to the way that we're treated and spoken to as women here. So I could come up with 1,000 more examples on different treatment that we've received over the last little while, but I think that's enough negativity for one day. So we'll leave it at that for now. But if you have any additional questions, or like you want to give me some feedback aside from how to speak or how to run my business or how to do my hair, I'm super interested. You're welcome to communicate with me anytime. For those of you who have decided to go up and put us some some 5-star reviews, those are definitely awesome. We really appreciate them. We always do. You don't have to, it's not an obligation whatsoever, but the fact that we didn't ask for it and a bunch of you just kind of did it was pretty cool. It showed us that there is a reason that we have the clientele that we do have. We're all kind of in this together and we enjoy being in this together. The pandemic has been hard. It's been hard on everybody. And so while I know a lot of this type of behavior is just some type of projection, I think I'm just tired of being a punching bag. So I think that's it. Have a lovely Saturday and a lovely Sunday. By the way, if you are expecting emails from us, but you are not getting them, there's no reason for us to not want to be emailing people. You have to understand, this is our work. We want you to receive what you're supposed to be receiving. But we're getting for months now a lot of comments about how emails are going into junk or spam or just not getting anywhere. They're just disappearing into thin air. I have no idea what that's about, but it's not in any way deliberate. It's not intentional. We have no intention of not sending you the things that you're supposed to be receiving or communicating with us. If for some reason you haven't received what you're waiting for or you haven't heard from me and it's unusual, it's not because I haven't tried. So please get in touch in another way. Maybe DM me on Instagram or text us at 604-553-MUTT, or try emailing again and just make sure there's no like attachments in it. That seems to be like a big part of the problem for some reason. I don't know much about this. I'm just observing. So if there's something that's missing, please get in touch with us. We do want to know because we need to figure out what's going on, but it's not intentional by any means. So please don't get mad. Just let us know and we'll solve that problem as quickly as we can. I think that's it. We are doing a lot of things right now. We're changing a lot of things, but that'll be for another planned live, not a really spontaneous one where I just blab on about the pandemic and feminism and shit like that. So we'll do it like a proper update another time. I just wanted to kind of like show my face and my voice while I talk about this so that you can see that there's a particular type of emotion behind it. Because we're kind of tired of it. We want our jobs to be fun again. We want to enjoy what we do again. It stopped being fun so long ago that it's been a drag. So we want it to not be a drag anymore. We want to continue having fun. The sun is finally coming out more regularly, and that's a really good sign for things to come. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please don't be mad at me if you haven't received emails. Just let me know. And if you don't like our flooring, I'm sorry, but you might need to find some place with better flooring, I guess. Okay, take care.